Hey guys, good afternoon. I am Dr. Daniela Gomes. I am an assistant professor in the African Studies Department here at SDSU. It's a pleasure being here with you today. I am honored by this invitation by the Pregnant and Parenting Student Initiative to record a presentation for their newsletter. But I confess I am a little bit surprised. I was a little bit surprised when I received this invitation, especially because I'm not a mom. But after talking to the editor, I learned how I could contribute to the discussion, and I feel really honored about that opportunity. So what I'm going to do now is, first of all, I'm very informal, so I will try to bring an informal presentation with a lot of personal informations and questions, but I hope you enjoy. So what I'm gonna do right now is to share my screen with you and try to tell a little bit of my thoughts on motherhood, parenting, infants, and other things. I know it's hard to see an image and presentation on Zoom, but I called this presentation today Collective Maternança on Black womanhood and care. And maternança, I know it's a weird term, but it's a word in Portuguese. I am from Brazil originally. A word in Portuguese that people have been using as a synonymous or even a replacement for motherhood, for maternity, which would be the word in Portuguese. So, Professor, why are you using maternança instead of maternity or motherhood? Because I think it says more about what I am thinking. I will share a very personal story with you guys right now. As I mentioned, I don't have any kids, but I love children. I'm very in love with children. I love being surrounded by them. I come from a very extended family that is huge, and I have a lot of little cousins. My cousins have kids that I adopt as my own, and things like that. But I only have one niece and one nephew. Actually, I had a nephew, and my nephew passed away almost 4 years ago. And when my nephew, almost 3 years ago. And when my nephew died, my feeling at that moment was like if my uterus was removed from me. I didn't give birth to my nephew, but I really had the feeling that I lost my kid. And that kept it like popping on my mind. I still planned to have my own children or birth children, right? Blood children who are related to me by blood. But I am still not married. I don't know if I wanted the single mother journey. I would be suburb, but takes a lot of time and money and investment and psychological abilities that maybe I'm not available. But I learned a few months ago that probably that's not going to be a possibility for me because I can't have babies. And that's also one of the reasons that writing this piece and talk to you guys was so hard and emotionally because I want to be a mom. I really want to have my own babies and carry them on my belly and give birth to them. And when a doctor tells you that that's not possible, even if you are not planning to get pregnant that day, but it's like if all your hopes fall down. So in these past months, a lot of things happened since I learned that information from my doctors. And I start thinking about, okay, who I am who am I if I can't birth a child? And that for me was a very, very important question, not only because of the expectations of motherhood over the heads of a woman, and especially if you are a Black woman, but my desire to be a mom, to raise a human being. And I know I am here talking specifically about biological motherhood, okay, about giving birth to a child. And I know about other forms of having a baby or a kid and giving a roof for a kid that really needs love. And I plan to do that if getting pregnant is not an option. But that's another conversation. But the impact of that information on me is starting to make me question not only my ability to have babies, but my own womanhood. Who am I? What kind of woman I am if I can't have babies? And that's a whole social construct around femininity, womanhood, and maternity that it's embedded in patriarchy values. So even me, a Black feminist who has been actively talking about patriarchy and its impact in Black women, have been caught in this web of like, okay, how does motherhood or maternity define me or not? Okay. So I then go start thinking about like motherhood and ancestry and how Black womanhood is defined differently than white womanhood. And I go back to this concept of maternança that became very popular. You are hearing a snoring because T'Challa, my dog, is right here by my side, is snoring. So you guys probably can hear him, but I think we are fine. So this word maternança became like a trend on Brazilian Twitter and Instagram, and I want to know more about that. And the definition I found from Rodrigues, Lima, and Pacheco is that care from the perspective of good motherhood practices are much more than biological aspects of this process, since it is taking care of these people, guiding them and placing them in the care action aimed at their comfort and well-being. So if maternança, if good motherhood is not only birth children, but it's also taking care, guide, and giving them all everything that is possible from you for them to be comfort and live well. So I am a mom. How? Because I nourish people. I take care of people. I take care of my nephew, my niece. I took care of my nephew. I take care of my little cousins. I take care of my friends' kids as if they were my own, or if they were related to me, because I really love children. And that took me to another aspect that calls me here, which is taking care of people, guiding them. I have this on me, right? I take care of people. People say that I am bossy, and I am like, you do this, you do that. But especially because I have this maternal energy around me. I am taking care, I like things organized. So if you are sick, I am the one who is going to, okay, let's organize a schedule. Who is going on Monday? Who is going on Tuesday? So that all aspects for me of motherhood or maternança. And then I go back to the idea of motherhood when I think, of course, of maternança, going further than the idea of giving birth. And I go back to other authors from Black feminism in Brazil that talk about that idea. And I go here to quote Jurema Werneck, because this Black feminist, which is very famous in Brazil, and now she is the director of Amnesty International. She says that, okay, let's go back. Why our steps come from afar? Or nossos passos vêm de longe? Because she returns all the way to Yoruba traditions expressed through Afro-Brazilian religions, to understand the positionality and the struggle and strength of Black women in Brazil. She is going to say, okay, the ancestors were already doing what we have been doing now. And not only living ancestors on earth, but also those ancestors that are in the called Orun, or the spiritual plan. And among many other orishas that she brings, and I ask permission here to bring that quote because I am not a African tradition practitioner, okay? That's not my religion, but for the perspective of a metaphor that works for what I see as maternança. So she says that Iemoja, also known as Iemaya in some countries, also known in Brazil as Iemanjá, she is the owner of the sea waters and mother of all children fishes. She has vast breasts, symbolizing welcoming motherhood. She reinforces the connection and partnership between women and the power of motherhood. So, Iemoja is known as the mother of children fishes, of many fishes. And Iemoja, she raised not only her own children, but children from other orishas, for example, like Yansan, who gave their children for Iemanjá to raise. And that took me to think about how many Black women in history, and I'm not talking about famous Black women, I'm talking about your auntie, your mom, your grandmother are raising other Black women kids for different reasons. Or because they have their moms have to work, or because their moms is absent for some reason, and other things that cause that. How many Black women we know that are not related to us by blood, but is still related to us, is still nourishing us, creating us? That for me, it's maternança. I have examples of that, like my auntie helped my mom and my raising us. Even I had of that at home, because that's not related to this Eurocentric value of traditional family, of mother, father, and kids. That's related to an Africanist perspective or an Afrocentrist perspective of family. Then I go to another author named Lélia Gonzalez, who was also a Black feminist in Brazil, to talk about this legendary heritage. Because in my case, specifically as a non-practitioner of Afro-Brazilian religions, I don't see the myth of Iemanjá as a mother, a heavenly mother or a spiritual mother looking for me, but I understand the power of the legend and why this myth is so important. And I will bring Lélia Gonzalez to talk about how Black women are actually the heirs of the quilombolas, Maroon women, right? Quilombo communities are Maroon communities, such as Dandara, Luísa Marim, Tia Ciata, Mãe Senhora. Those are all names of Black women in Brazil who were part of the history, or who are whose even the existence are questioned, but that are important mother figures in the history of Brazil. But especially the large anonymous masses who at the house or the field, the plantation or the quilombos, in candomblé or umbanda, farms or afoxés, guaranteed the survival of a whole people racially and culturally. So in the history of Brazil, Black women were responsible to feed Black people, the Black community, to buy emancipation papers, and to take care of all children, like Iemoja took care of all fish children. So Black women followed with that tradition over the centuries, in families, immediate family, extended family, but also in communal family, symbolic family. So I go with that, with the idea of African cosmology to legends or myths to the Afro-imaginative. What is the Afro-imaginative? Because again, I didn't birth any kids. So the only way for me to experience maternança is through the imaginative. It's through understanding that motherhood can have many definitions. So I go back to the book As Lendas de Dandara, or The Myths of Dandara. Dandara, for those who don't know, was supposedly the wife of Zumbi dos Palmares, the main leader of African quilombos in Brazil, communities from runaway enslaved people. And she created what she called the legends of Dandara, or the myth of Dandara, because nobody really knows if Dandara was a real figure or if it was the Afro-imaginative, or if it's just a legend. So what she's going to say is that she's going to tell the story of this figure that supposedly existed and was important for enslaved resistance in Brazil in the 17th century, to talk about this collective maternança. And she says, like, okay, in a moment where the adoptive mother of Dandara was sick, she mentions, women blended in 1,000 different acts, cleaning her wounds, changing Bayo's clothes, making her mat as comfortable as possible, and bringing her water to drink. So in this first moment, Shari Jahai narrates how Dandara's mother, physical mother or adoptive mother, were actually cared by the whole community, by all the women in the community. They pretty much took turns to take care of that woman who was sick. Actually, in the story, the woman was, and the book is this one here. If you read Portuguese, I don't know if you guys can see, but if you read Portuguese, you should search for it because it's really good. But they, like in the story, that woman was shot and hurt by a slave owner that was trying to capture her. And the whole community, the whole women around her just took care of her, just exercised their maternança, which is unadoptable. Then in another moment in the book, she's going to say how Dandara, this mythological figure that we don't know if he existed or not, but who was human, meets the goddess Yansan, or Oya. Yansan, for the African cosmology from Yoruba tradition in Brazil, is the goddess of the storms. And remember that I said that one of the goddesses that gave her children for Iemanjá to raise was Yansan. And Yansan meets Dandara and tells her, I am Yansan, goddess of the storms. Dandara, you are my creation. I am your mother because I created you from me in a divine way. Bayo is also your mother, Yansan said with a smile on her face. So we have two different types of maternança here, and there is no competition. Yansan, the goddess of the storms, who gave up her children to Iemanjá because she wants to be a warrior. It's also Dandara's mother in a sense of creation that takes from the idea of creation that is present in Christianity, right? But she recognized that she gave Dandara for adoption and to be raised by Bayo, who is her mother, her earth mother or adoptive mother. So from the African cosmologies, real African cosmologies from Yoruba tradition, especially that Jurema Werneck brings, to the heritage that Lélia Gonzalez points out, how we are pretty much continuing the legacy of our ancestors, I go to this Afro-imaginative to think about the figure of Dandara as someone that who had two mothers, one goddess or divine, and the other one in earth, taking care of her, and who are also part of this collective maternança of the community they have. This takes me to another thing, right? So, does it take a village? I know this idiom, this proverb became very popular and nobody knows if it really exists somewhere, right? I researched it because I want to say, oh, this is from people X, Y, and Z. And what I learned is that has been circulating the internet pretty much as a hoax. Nobody knows if it's real or not. If someone in any group in the African continent or in any African country having used this expression, but this author right here, really, it's going to say that, okay, maybe this expression is not real as it is posted everywhere, but this communal responsibility in raising children, it's part of African philosophies in different peoples. Different African peoples have this philosophy. So he is going to bring the Tanzania proverb that says, one need does not bring up a child. So you need the community, okay? And then in Swahili, from East and Central Africa, the proverb is gonna say, one hand does not nurse a child. So both to educate and to nurse, you need your community. And the sentence that they say it's Igbo, I'm not sure if it's Igbo or not, that is translated, it does take a village to raise a child. The pronunciation, if you are Igbo, please correct me, is Ora Nazum Nawa. It takes a village. And if it takes a village, then I am part of that village, a collective maternança. Then I bring here two different symbols that are two different proverbs or words that are part of, are known and are part of my reality as a Black Brazilian woman. One is Ubuntu, a philosophy from Bantu origin that in Brazil we talk a lot, and that translated literally it's, I am because we are. I don't exist if the community doesn't exist. And the translation that I found online, of course, is that the expression is a person through other persons. So our existence is collective or we don't exist. And then I go to the first principle of Kwanzaa, which is umoja, which means unit, as you guys probably know. And that unit is to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. So when I think about this collective maternança, I am not thinking about the baby that I cannot have because I literally can't have them right now, or at least I don't know about the future, I don't read the future, but I don't have kids right now. But I think about my whole, as a Black woman, in this unit, in this collective maternança, in the community, nourishing my community, taking care of my community, but also being taken care by my community, accepting being cared by people. And that's the hardest part because it goes straight against the idea that Black women must be strong, that we have everything fixed, that we can hold the world in our back, and that we can receive any punch people want to give to us because we are so strong. I don't want to be strong. I want to be weak. And when I feel weak, I want to have that possibility. And when I feel weak, I want to know that my community is there to have my back, as I am there to have their back. So thinking about that, thinking about this possibility of a collective maternança, this possibility that comes since the sacred of African cosmologies to the legends we hear, the stories, real stories, historical figures that we learn about, to the legends we hear and we all create in our imagination, to the African philosophies. When I think again who I am, if I am not a mother, if I cannot birth my own child, I go back to Ubuntu and I think I am because we are. I am because my community exists. I am because I have a village to be part of and to exercise my collective maternança. Muito obrigada, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Those were my babies when they were babies. As I said, my nephew passed away a few years ago. My niece is now a grown woman, 18 years old in college, but I am very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much.